All right, so today we're really going to dig into this whole bird flu thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things, you hear about it and think, oh, it's just chickens,
Right.
but it's actually spreading to people,
Yeah.
and not just anywhere here in the U.S.
Yeah, we've had some cases pop up.
Exactly. So we really want to get into like what's actually going on, how worried should we be, and you know, why does this even matter? Like should we be concerned about this?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting here is this whole idea of like how connected animal health and human health really are. I mean, avian flu, it's been around, but these new cases really drive home that like we're living in a world where these diseases can jump from animals to us.
Totally. It's like easy to forget about that until something like this happens. So let's talk about what's happening specifically. We've got these two cases in California. Both were farm workers. They had mild symptoms, thankfully.
Hmm.
But one thing, I don't know why, but I just got stuck on this detail. They both had like red, irritated eyes. Is that a bird flu thing?
It can be, yeah. It's actually a clue to how it might be spreading. Direct contact, like touching an infected bird or, their droppings, that's one way.
Sure.
But you can also get it from contaminated surfaces, right? So think about a farm worker. They're handling equipment, maybe feed that's been splashed with something, or even just touching their face after being in a contaminated area.
Oh, I see.
That redness, it's conjunctivitis.
Conjunctivitis, wow.
Basically, it suggests infection through the eyes. So eye protection, really important.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And speaking of protection, they're like recommending all this gear for farm workers, right? Like the CDC seems particularly concerned about them being on the front lines of this whole thing.
Absolutely. I mean, they're recommending the face shields, goggles, masks, gloves, like really the works. And it makes sense, right? These are the folks who are constantly around potentially infected birds and environments, so they're at a much higher risk.
Yeah, they're essential, but also like if there's an outbreak, they're right there.
Exactly.
And it's not just a couple of isolated cases, Royce. There have been 16 cases since March in the U.S., mostly tied to poultry and dairy farms. So that's a little unnerving.
It is. And here's the thing. Each time a person gets infected, even if it's mild, it gives the virus another shot at mutating.
Oh, right, right.
And the more it spreads between people, the more chances it has to get better at spreading between people. That's how you get pandemics.
That's what I was thinking. Like, is this the start of, the next pandemic? Should we be, like, really worried?
So it's not time to panic,
Okay, good.
but it's definitely a time to be aware and prepared. The good news is that the risk to most people is still considered pretty low. This strain of bird flu doesn't seem to spread easily from person to person, thankfully, but the fact that it can jump from birds to humans at all, well, it reminds us that we need to be vigilant, right?
It's a bit of a wake-up call.
Yeah.
So we've got this virus, it's spreading among birds, sometimes it jumps to us, and while for now we don't need to be freaking out, it feels like a good time to, pay attention.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it really highlights how our health and the health of animals are just completely intertwined.
Yes.
And, disease prevention, it's not just about hand sanitizer and vaccines. It's about understanding these really complex interactions and monitoring for potential threats and being ready to act fast if something happens.
It really makes you think about like our whole relationship with animals in a different way. If these viruses can change and jump species, I mean, what does that mean for preventing diseases in the future? What can we even do to minimize this risk in a world where we're constantly interacting with animals, whether it's our pets or, wildlife? Just something to consider.